Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to replace the screen on this MacBook Pro. This is a 13-inch model A1989. Alright, I think this is a 2020 model. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and replace the screen on that. So we're going to be using a P5 or Pentalobe 1.2 screwdriver. We're also going to need a T5 or Torx 5, a T3 or Torx 3, excuse me, a T8 or Torx 8, and we'll also need a Pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screwdriver. Okay, so we're going to set all of these things aside here. Let's go ahead and start with the P5 or Pentalobe 1.2 screwdriver and remove all the screws from the bottom. You want to keep them in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that, flat side down like that on my desk in the pattern I remove them. So we kind of have a somewhat of a U shape or 2 rows. All right, one with the 2 at the corners and then the 4 at the bottom. All right, whatever helps you kind of keep them in order. Okay, so let's go ahead and get all these screws out. All right, and if you're wondering, the 2 back at the corner are the longest of all the screws. All right, and then I don't know if the middle ones are a little bit different at the bottom as well. They look about the same actually. So I think the 4 at the bottom here might be the same, but again, you want to try and keep them in order because if you mix them up, you can damage your computer. All right, I'm going to flip this over this way so it's a little bit easier to work on. We're going to use a suction cup, though you could use tape or you can just try and lift up here. As you can see, I can actually lift up here and then get underneath this part. Whoa, why is this popping out so easily? Okay, anyways, I guess we'll pop it out this way because for some reason I don't need the suction cup. But anyways, normally you would pull that out. I don't know if you saw how I did that. But anyways, we're going to grab the part of the panel that's sticking out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this down like that. Oh, I know why it's coming out so easily. The customer dropped this on the floor and it like rattled the whole thing. So I think everything is just kind of popping out. Oh wow, it's really dusty and dirty in here, as you can see. So I'm going to clean this up real quick and then I'll be back. All right, I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, I'm back. So this is going to be somewhat of a quick repair. I didn't wash it off or anything, so I just scrubbed off what I could. The other stuff is stuck on there pretty bad. So anyways, this is going to be somewhat of a quick repair because the customer is actually waiting. So let me actually get this all done. So we're going to peel that thing off. All right, we're going to switch on over to a T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. Okay. We're going to disconnect this cable here. I have other videos of this model or models very similar. So if you need help finding one where I'm a little bit more thorough and kind of talking through everything, feel free to let me know and I'll see if I can point you to that. All right, we're going to use the T5 screwdriver to remove this one screw. All right, this metal plate is kind of sticking down, so we're going to actually pull it up slightly. All right, and then we're going to press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds to drain any residual power. Yes, this is a very important step. Some people ask me if they need to. It only takes 15 seconds and it could just save you like hundreds of dollars in damage or even thousands. So just do it. All right, there we go. Done holding the button. Okay, we're going to close this up. Next, we're going to go ahead and switch on over to a T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver, and we're going to go ahead and start removing these little screws here. Again, I'm going to be doing this somewhat quicker than my usual videos where I kind of talk through it because I have another computer as well that I need to get done that customers are waiting for. So let's go ahead and get these out. All right, we're going to do the same thing with the other side. All right. There we go. All right. Let's get these screws out. So these are Pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screws. We're just going to get all of these out. Okay. Again, hopefully you guys are keeping all your screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. And if you mix them up, you can cause damage to your computers. Alright, if this video helps you out, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. Helps you save a bunch of money. Please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Alright, so let's go ahead and continue removing all these screws. All right, so we got all of those out. We can switch back over to the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver. Okay, and we're going to remove the other screws over here. So you'll want to check your screen if it has these silver pieces already. We won't have to remove those. Actually, let me pop open the replacement screen and see what we got. All right, I'm gonna open it up and I'll be back. All right, so Amazon did this box in a box stuff, and then they wrapped this in this styrofoam. So I need to cut this open. Let's go ahead and get that open. Okay. Let's cut this side, and we'll cut this side. I usually leave one side left uncut so I can use it as a flap just to open the box. If you're opening this, be careful with your computer. You don't want to get the static on it, okay? Alright. Oh man, I got too much of these styrofoam things everywhere now. Alright, so anyways, it comes packed with this bubble wrap. So open that up. Oh. Set that aside. I've got the screen inside another bag, and this is kind of like an anti-static bag. It does come with screen wipes, but I don't know why you need that because it's going to get dirty the moment you start using it again. So anyways, let's go ahead and open this up and take the screen out. There we go. Get rid of this paper thing here. Okay, so as you can see, it does come with these metal things here, so we don't need to worry about removing those. So I'll set the screen aside for now, and we'll continue removing everything first. Okay, so let's go back up over here. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and now remove these two T3 or Torx 3 screws here. Again, keep track of all the screws because they are different size, shape, and lengths. And again, if you mix them up, you can damage your computer. Right, the screws over here holding these little spring-loaded parts are actually super long. So yeah. All right, compared to the other screws, that is. So just keep that in mind. All right, so we're almost there. Come on. There we go. All right, now we got the screws here. So this is holding down the LCD LVDS connector. All right, the original screen has like cracks in it. It only turns on black, but if you move your finger over the screen, you can actually see where the cracks are. When the screen is on, you'll see like light going through it. All right, anyways, we're going to remove these two screws as well. If you didn't see, I moved that little metal plate that was on top out of the way as well. And the screws on here are also, down here are also somewhat long. So yeah, I don't know why they make them that long. They don't need to be anywhere near that long. But there we go. Okay, we're going to remove this little plate as well. Okay, then we can go ahead and pop this up, just get underneath. I use my fingernail, you can use plastic pry tools, but you want to be careful not to pry under there. Okay, so we got all of that out. We're going to now remove the T5 or Torx 5 screws holding this LCD, LVDS, whatever board you want to call it. All right, we're going to remove those four. Okay. All right. Okay, then we got one screw down here holding the wireless antennas in. We got to remove that as well, also with the T5 or Torx 5. Okay, there you go. Again, keep these screws all in order. All right, we're going to now remove the wireless antenna connection. So I just used my fingernails. You can see one already popped up. I used both my fingernails like this to pull it up, straight up. There we go. Now we're going to remove the wireless antenna. The way I do that, I use the air vents here in the wireless antenna board, and I just kind of pull it kind of straight up till it pops the middle part out. Then we kind of just pull and wiggle this to get all these cables out. You might need a tweezer or something to get these cables back through that little gap. It can be a little tricky, and then I kind of like bend them straight out to kind of make it easier to put back later. You'll see when we go to reinstall this. Okay, let me move the screwdrivers out of the way. Okay. All right, next thing we're going to need is a T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver, but give me a second because I'm getting messages and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. Let's go ahead and remove the hinge screws. So what we're going to do, we're going to open the screen all the way. Okay, we're going to hang the screen over the edge of the desk here. Okay, then what we're going to do, let me actually zoom out so you guys can see. We're just going to be removing all the screws. Ignore all the junk all over my desk. I know, got lots of stuff everywhere. All right, anyways, let's go ahead and remove these screws. 3 screws on each hinge, okay? just like this. Alright, it helps to put thread locker on after replacing these screws with the new screen. Okay. Go. If your screen becomes wobbly, you want to make sure that these screws didn't come loose after replacement. Okay, if they do, you do want to put thread locker. Alright, once we've done that, we're going to let the screen fall about 90 degrees, and then we're going to kind of wiggle and pop this out. Right, did I forget something? For some reason it's staying stuck in here. Or is it just, okay, it's just stuck with the gunk that was trapped underneath. But there we go, we got the old screen out. We'll set that aside, and then we shall get the new replacement screen. Okay. All right, we're gonna have to peel this stuff off, so we don't need this on here, of course. And you want to actually hold down the metal piece here when you go ahead and peel this tape off. Just like that. I'm going to peel this out all the way. Let me actually stick it out on the back of the screen, and then we'll get rid of this pink thing here. Okay, next thing we're going to do, make sure the hinges are open all the way. If they aren't, you can use your T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver to get the thing in there and just pry that open. Be careful not to pull it too hard because you don't want to break the hinges. All right, next we're going to pull the screen cables up and out of the way. Then we're going to slowly, carefully drop this into place. Okay, just like that. Now that we have that dropped into place, we're going to hold this up, all right, and then get 2 of the screws in for the hinges. So I'm going to get the centermost and try and make sure this is aligned. All right, and this one, we're not going to over tighten it. We're just tightening it a little bit so that we can close the screen. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to do this and slowly, carefully close the screen. You want to do this slowly because if it gets caught somewhere, you don't want to just yank it down and end up breaking it. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to undo these screws slightly. Let's zoom in a bit. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to undo these screws a little bit here. And the reason we're doing that is so we can go along the edges and make sure everything is lined up properly. Okay, there are dents in this laptop, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to make sure everything is lined up right. But do the best you can. Okay, try and line up the little gaps down here. Okay, oops, sorry. Try and line up the little gaps down here between the screen and the base. And there we go. Okay, looks good. Then you can go ahead and tighten these down. We are going to take them back out again later after we put thread locker in to hold everything else in place. Okay, so we got those 2 screws in. Oh, it moved a little bit, so I gotta readjust. All right, and then tighten that down. Good. All right, so now we're gonna add the thread locker. All right, it doesn't take much, less than a drop. We're just barely touching the thread locker onto the threads of the screw. So we'll just do this. I'm only gonna show like 1 up close, then the rest I'm just gonna kind of do it just because you don't really need to see each one up close. So just a little bit like that. I don't know if you can even see. There we go. And then let's go ahead and get that screw in. Good. Get the second one, and we're just going to do this for all the screws. Okay. Just putting a little bit on there. Go ahead and tighten that in. Now that we've got those 2, we can go ahead and take this back out. Okay. Do the same thing. Just add the thread locker. Alright, tighten that down. There we go. Go over to the other side and do the same thing. There we go, just a little, and then we'll get this screw in. This one. Good. Alright, get that screw in. Alright, let's take this one back out. Then we'll get this screw in. Alright, there we go, and we'll tighten that down. Okay, there we go. We'll set that aside. Let's go ahead now and get this one. Alright, so we're going to put in these 2 T3 or Torx 3 screws first. Okay, we're done with the T8, so I put that one away. Alright, so let's go ahead and get these 2 spring-loaded screws in first. Alright, so I'm going to get this. Let me zoom in a bit here for you guys. All right, so this, you kind of have to rotate the spring over just like this, and then you want to hold it in place. You can actually see the spring in between the motherboard and or logic board and the metal frame here, right? And then we'll just tighten that screw. All right, get the other, keep holding it. All right, and then get that in place and tighten that in. And do the same thing with the other side, okay? All right, grab that, rotate it over, and same thing, tighten this into place. There we go. Grab the other one and tighten this one into place. There we go. Okay, next we're gonna switch over to the wireless antenna first, and then we'll use the T5 to put in the board screws. Okay, so the wireless antenna can be a little tricky. We are gonna have to thread it through that little hole over here. There's a hole in this metal piece that we kind of have to thread it through. It helps sometimes to kind of curl the antennas upwards like this, okay? So that way, when they go through, they actually don't get caught on anything in there. All right, so we're gonna kind of just wiggle this and get those through. Again, you kind of have to wiggle it and move it around. We're gonna use some tweezers here because it's getting caught on this little area down there. Okay, so we're gonna get that and just kind of keep wiggling it and then pull it up if it gets caught. Okay, and you kind of just gotta keep working it. Wiggle it a little bit, make sure everything goes in. All right, don't forget the little metal screw mount thing here. Get that up as well. There we go. Okay, so now we got the antenna into place. What you're going to want to do now, make sure you get these outer screws lined up. Hold that into place, and then while you're holding that into place, push the center down. It should kind of hold itself. If it doesn't, we might have to readjust. Here you can see it's not really holding right. Let me actually zoom out a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to lift this up, kind of rotate it, and then let's see if we can get that in. It's not wanting to go in right for some reason. So we might have to, let's see, what's it hitting here? Okay, I don't know what it's hitting, but for some reason it's not going in right. Okay, come on. We might have to push it forward this way or back a little bit because it looks like it's not going in the slot. There we go, and then push that in. All right, so now you can check by kind of lifting the sides and the center should stay in place. Okay, looks good. Don't forget this cable needs to remain on top. It's going underneath, so you want to make sure that stays up. Okay, let's go ahead and get the T5, Torx 5 screwdriver, and we'll now get the screws for the LCD LVDS board in place. Get everything lined up. We're going to loosely fit the screws first, all right? You don't want to tighten down the first one right away because you want to make sure everything lines up properly. Okay, so get that in. Why isn't it going? Come on. Get in there. Okay, and there, loosely fit it. You can see this can still move. All right, and we're just going to continue going across to get all four in. All right, there we go. Get the next one. Same thing. Here we go. Tighten that. Next one. Go. This one. Tighten that. And then we're going to move this over. Okay, get that screw in and we'll tighten this. Make sure this stays lined up and get that down into place. Good, now we can go ahead and tighten all four of these now that everything is lined up. Okay, don't overly tighten. If you twist too hard, you can possibly break the screws on these because these screws are tiny. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and reconnect the wireless antennas. Let me zoom in a bit more. It's very important that you get these lined up 100% before you start trying to push down on them. The way you know is, as you can see, when it's in place, it doesn't move around. All right, and then you can go ahead and click it down. All right, very important because these connections are fragile. All right, I've had people bring me these that are broken, and then I can't do them, but I have someone I work with where they have to resolder the stuff in. All right, or solder new tips on or something. But anyways, we'll click this back in. There we go. All right, so we got those 3 antennas back in. Next, we're gonna reattach the, set aside the T5 or Torx 5, and we'll switch back to the P2 or Pentalobe 0.8 so that we can put back the wireless antenna screws. All right. So when I put back these screws, I like to hold this into place so that it's making a nice solid fit. Then we'll put one here on the furthest outside, and then we'll get the other one to the other side. All right, so hold that in place and get that. All right, we're going to do the same thing on this side. Doesn't matter which one you do first, as long as you're holding it in place so that it doesn't move around. Okay, just like that. We'll get the second one. Same thing, hold that in place and get that screw in. Okay, and now that we've got all those screws in, we can just go ahead and, we don't have to hold it in place anymore and get everything else. All right, if you noticed, I like to turn the screws backwards first to make sure when I hear it click, that's how I know it fell into the threads properly and it's not going to strip out the threads. Okay. All right, and we're just going to continue going along. Get that one, get this one. All right. I'm going to go across and do the other side here. Same thing. Let's get all these screws back in. All right, we're almost there. Also, after disconnecting the battery, most of the time these MacBooks, they require you to plug them back in before you can turn them back on. So keep that in mind. You will need to plug your charger in to get it to power up. All right, the first time. All right, there we go. We're done with the P2 or Pentalobe 1.8. We're going to now switch over to the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver, and we'll get all this other stuff back in. Let's get this plastic little thing back in. You put it in at an angle like this, and then you swing it down, and we'll get these 2 screws in. Sometimes the hinges, the screw mounts are not the right size, and then these screws don't go in. I've seen that a couple times, but it's not very common. But keep that in mind. If that's the case, I probably should have recommended trying to put the screws into the new hinge first. All right, I'm going to get this at an angle. Just for testing purposes, so that way you know if it's worth it and you have to return it or do something. But yeah, let's go ahead and get these screws back in. Good. All right, we're almost there. Okay, let's go ahead and reconnect the screen now. So this cable, a lot of times you kind of have to push it back slightly this way when you get it to go in. So I'm going to push it down slightly and then click that in. There you go. Looks good. And let's go ahead now and get these screws back in. So one trick I found that helps with getting these screws in, because they're so small, is to take the little metal bracket or cover or whatever and then get it through the screw hole and then use this to help guide it. All right, that way you can get the first screw in easier. Okay, just like that. Then I'll take the second one and same thing, get that screw in. And I just loosely fit the screw first, so that way this thing can pop up a little, and now we can go ahead and tighten the other side back down. All right, we're going to do the same thing with this one. All right, we'll grab this, get the screw in, use that to guide it. All right, and there we go. All right, I only loosely fit the screw so that it can move around if needed. And then we'll get the second one in and carefully tighten that. All right, there we go. And tighten this one. And there we go. All right, now we just gotta reconnect the battery and then plug it in and make sure everything works. So we're gonna go over to the T5. Oh, the other thing you wanna do is to, do a PRAM and SMC reset if it works. And that basically recalibrates it to the new hardware. All right, so we're gonna get this screw in. As you can see, I'm twisting it backwards first till I hear it click, and then we're tightening that down. Good, once we got that, we're gonna go ahead and plug this cable back in. All right, so we'll grab that, line it up, get it into place. Make sure this cable goes in There will be a little bit of the gold pins exposed. That's normal, but it's a very small amount. All right. Once you got that, we're going to slide our finger over the top to get it latched in. Oh, I think it's a little crooked, so let me fix this. Okay, once you got that all lined up, all right, slide your finger over the latch to lock it down. There we go. And let's go ahead and put the cover on and test it out. So for testing, I just snap the cover on normally, but once it's done, I'll show you how to do it the right way. So we're just going to get this lined up and just click this on. All right, let's flip this over and let's go ahead and see if it powers up. So we're going to open it up, and right now nothing, right? So let's go ahead and plug it in. So we can get the USB-C charging cable here. We'll plug it in here on the side. All right, and then let's go ahead and power it up. And hopefully, there we go, it's clicking now. That's how I know it's turning on. And hopefully we get the Apple logo. Actually, oops, I was gonna do the PRAM and SMC reset, but you can see the Apple logo is there. All right, and it's showing the hard drive. So I'm gonna do a SMC reset. If it does, the screen should go off. So Control Option Shift on the left side and the power button. Okay, this model doesn't support SMC reset. So we're gonna do a PRAM reset. I'm gonna hold the power button to shut it off. All right, then we're going to turn it on and hold Command Option P and R. So do that, Command Option P and R. You should hear the thing chime. The screen should go off, and then it should chime a second time. That's how you know you did the PRAM reset, right? So if you see the screen shut off, you can let go right away. I saw the Apple logo, it shut off, and then I let go, and now it should turn itself back on. All right, so let's give it a few seconds, and we should be good to go. I'll have to get their password to confirm that the touch bar is working. Okay, as you can see, it turned itself back on, but other than that, we should be good. All right, and you can peel this off, of course. You don't have to leave that on there. Okay, you can also peel off the back one. All right, just like that. All right, so their computer is booting up. Let's see, I think they said there's no password on here, so it's probably gonna start itself up. Oh yeah, I saw the touch bar already start up. Whoa, so much stuff on their desktop. All right, so you can see their touch bar is already working. We can go to the brightness settings and make sure it's max brightness. All right, but yeah, all right, everything looks good, screen's good. So let me show you how to put the cover back on. So I'm gonna shut this down real quick. Actually, we don't even need to shut it down. We can just close the screen. Let me unplug this. Okay, and I should actually put this thing back on since I'm going to flip it upside down. Okay, so we'll just put this back on here. That way, if I work on it, it's not going to get scratched by anything and it'll still be like brand new. Okay, anyways, we're going to pop this cover back off. And since I didn't clip these back things in here, I'm going to pull it up from here. Okay, let's go ahead and zoom out a tiny bit more. Okay, so the way you get this, you have to actually slide this in like that. So we're going to go along the outer edge, and we're going to slide this up into place. Okay, so what you do, get that lined up, and then I push my thumb down here to help get it in place, and then slide that. All right, then this side, we're going to do the same thing, pull it back a little, slide that up into place, and then we're going to go over here again and slide that up. All right, you want to make sure that these outer side parts are lined up. If not, you can kind of use these nubs to kind of help pull it over to the left or right a little. All right, once you got that, just click all of this back into place, and we'll get all the screws in, and we're good to go. All right, and let's, oh, wait, one thing. I forgot to put this back on, so now I need to open the cover again. All right, I always forget because that piece isn't necessary for anything. It's just there. I don't know, it doesn't do anything. So let's go ahead and pop this thing back out. Luckily, this one is nice and easy to remove. Okay. All right, we're gonna put this thing back on there, get everything lined up, and flip that back over there. And yeah, there we go. Stick that all down. Okay, we'll get this lined up. Slide that back in, slide that back in. Make sure it's good to go. Okay, everything looks good, and click. Okay, click everything back in. There we go, and that's good. All right, now we just got to put back the Pentalo 1.2 or P5 screws, and that's all there is to it. All right. Anyways, hopefully this video helped you guys out. Again, if it did, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Anyways, yeah, let's get all these screws in. You're welcome to stay. Other than that, thanks for watching. All right, last couple screws. All right, that's it. Let's drop this. Bye.